would like to have an approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments, any changes to the agenda? Josh, Carla, anything?
No, I didn't see anything.
Not seeing any changes, I'll move that we approve the agenda as written.
Okay, I got a motion?
A motion. I mean, that is the motion, I guess.
Yeah.
Second the motion. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then approval of the minutes from last session. I didn't have any updates. Anyone else have any updates?
Nope. Good.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion,
I'll second it.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. There are no administrative items. We'll go straight to our legislative session, which the first item will be Springville City requests of repeal of Title 11, Chapter 5, Article 7, Materials Processing and Storage Overlay Regulations. Carla, you're up.
Woo woo. I always get the exciting ones. All right. All right, so this is the parcel of land where the material processing overlay currently exists. Just wanted to kind of give you a frame of reference for that. So as it states in the staff report, the materials processing and storage overlay was adopted in December 2019 to address behavior or the operations that were already in existence, unregulated, and we wanted to be able to have a little bit more control over them as they did have some negative impacts. And so we created the materials processing and storage overlay and applied it to this parcel of land. And then, and that was the only area that it has been applied in the city. Others have expressed interest in having it applied on their property. It is not a use that we would want to continue in the LIM, and it is an allowed use in the HIM, and so if that is operations that an entity would like to do, then we just encourage them to find parcels in the HIM that would allow them to do that, and then and limit it in the LIM. So the general plan encourages us to review ordinances and behaviors and standards, policies, as the situations in the community change, and that is what is prompted this with the adoption of the Dry Creek Corridor Plan in 2024. It was a shift from the earlier adoption in 2019 of the overlay, and so with the 2024 Dry Creek Corridor Plan focusing on 1600 South and also in this area, it was pertinent for us to review this overlay and to make these changes now. That's about all I got.
That's it.
That's it. I do have this one that shows the pretty little things, and they kind of look like fishies, but it actually says MP, but I like fishies better.
Materials.
So as you can see, it is only that one parcel
In the entire city.
in the entire city that this is.
Where,
So this is on
what
state.
did the overlay apply to? Every zone?
No, it could only be in the LIM zone.
LIM zone.
And for materials processing, which involves crushing and processing of gravel and material for construction.
It was only permitted, the zone was written, the purpose statement said it could only be applied to the light industrial manufacturing zone south of 1600 South and west of 50 SR 51. The language is a little more specific, but it was very geographically limited in terms of where it was intended to be able to be applied, but it was only ever applied to this one single parcel.
So repealing it, what does that do to
That property.
this property and,
It creates a legal non-conforming use. So they will be able to continue operations within this geographic area, but
because they're
under,
currently in operation?
yes. But under the legal non-conforming use conditions, both in the city and state code, they will not be able to expand, but they will be able to continue the operations as they currently exist.
Have we had any other applications for the overlay that have been denied?
We have.
Not recently, though.
No, but you have heard an application to apply that to the T&K property, which is about 40 acres directly north. You can see the little tail of it in that aerial.
And was that before or after the Dry Creek?
Concurrent with and after. This operation was not permitted, and the council asked staff to provide a zoning solution to make it permitted. And so that's what we did in the end of 2019. And since that time, both based on comments from citizens, our desires to not have it be applied to other areas, the fact that we've denied other applications, we wanted to just make it clear that this use can continue here indefinitely, but we don't want it available to be applied to other properties in this area. We don't want that that uncertainty hanging over residents and business owners to say, well, could the property next to me become a concrete crushing plant?
So,
So
yeah, so what
that's-
was happening was the property owners were conducting these operations.
I'm aware.
Yes. And because it was important to their business and also to other businesses in the area as far as construction operations go, that is when the council instructed us to find a way to work with them for them to be able to continue those operations, but not allow it to expand.
And that was 2019, and
Yes.
it's 2024 that it
Yes.
was then brought back with assumptions, right? Because or something happened where they were operating on
That
the rear
was-
parcel.
Correct. I believe that was 2024.
Right.
No, it was earlier than that.
2023 or
Wait.
22?
It
Was it?
wasn't even that long ago.
No.
It-
No. The application for the north property.
There was an earlier application, I think in 20 or 21, for the TNK property.
It was denied.
It was, well, the planning commission recommended denial, and they withdrew their application. They chose not to
So
take
it never
that
went
to
to
city
city
council.
And it's,
Now, were they like operating that, or they
No.
wanted to?
No,
they were not.
they were considering it, and but they had not at that time started to use the property. It was undeveloped. So that's where we currently are.
And it was 2024 or 2023. I know it wasn't 2025. It wasn't last year.
But I feel like it was
that Western Paving was operating on their western property.
Correct.
That was not permitted.
it wasn't last year?
It wasn't last year.
No.
'Cause I wasn't on planning commission at the time.
Oh, okay.
It was at least 2 years ago.
Time goes
And
fast.
but I remember coming and seeing the meetings.
Yes.
It was
and-
definitely after Dry Creek.
Yes,
Yes.
it was.
And,
Yes.
and then once, and the part of this whole project, I'm more just trying to get a history of this because 2019, it was recommended by council to staff
Yes.
to figure out a way to make this work.
Correct.
And now in our general plan and with the Dry Creek area plan, this is no longer desired as a use.
Well, it really wasn't desired as a use in
the
the
first
existing general plan, because that's not, materials processing and storage isn't something that's typically done or that is permitted in light industrial manufacturing.
But was it a legal non-conforming?
No, it
or-
was not. It was an
was-
illegal operation.
Yeah.
And now there is a new law that has gone into effect, or has gone into effect, a new state law that permits the expansion of critical materials or critical infrastructure related operations in the city, which would permit this operation to expand onto the adjacent property, which they did go through site plan approval to bring it into conformance as a construction yard. But under this new state law, they would be able to expand the materials processing and storage, crushing materials operations onto the adjoining property. And that's another reason that the city desired to the west. We wanted to take this off the books to make it even more clear that this isn't a use we wanted more of in this area, especially since the current state law is limited in terms of when the operation had to be vested or in operation. But we didn't want to take the chance that in the future the state was going to allow additional allowances that would take away our local land use control. So it all just kind of came together that they can keep doing this, but we don't want any more
Well,
of
they
it.
not only can keep doing this,
They can
they can expand.
expand under
And
state
this
law.
was the discussion we
nothing
had
we can do
whenever it
about
was
that.
24.
Correct.
So it's just a done deal.
If they make it, it's in the property owner's court, but if they make an application under the state code, then, and the city has some ability to review that, but essentially because we have a zone that says that it's okay right next to it, it will,
So this would allow existing.
Yes.
However, it would not allow any new.
correct.
Is that right?
Yes, any new sites, it would allow the
Correct.
expansion of this
Yes,
existing
understood.
operation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And removal of this gives the city more leverage or at least credibility if they try to oppose expansion of this property and the processing.
No, it really
No.
doesn't impact this property or its expansion, because the conditions that the city can review is it essentially hazardous to, health, safety, welfare, all those type of things. And we've said by adopting the ordinance we have that if they follow the law, then it's okay. So it is assumed that if an application is made under that state law, that expansion will be permitted to occur. But taking it off the books makes it no longer available for anyone else to ask for. For someone else to ask for it, they'd have to go through the process of amending the code to put the zone back on the books. So no impact to the existing operation, and it just solidifies the track record we've had in the intervening time of not approving any more of this.
So the conversation we had 2 or 3 years ago, however long it was, seems like it was last year.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Really,
I
all
didn't go
that's
through that
no longer relevant. Is that correct?
For this specific piece, in
Piece,
regard to the
which is
overall
all
philosophical
we're
framework of
discussing.
that discussion, that still holds, but in regards to this piece, no.
Yeah. So that.
Yeah, our local land
Understood
use control
overall,
has been,
But this piece.
Yes.
There was no need.
yes,
for a
we've been
conversation.
preempted.
Okay, good enough. That's all I needed to know.
And I more wanted to know the history because it really comes down to 2019, this was not a desired solution or land use, but it was a Band-Aid then that has now been traced back through and is still here. Is that a fair way to put it?
But I don't know that it was a Band-Aid, but it was a very specific solution to a very specific
Yeah, or like
situation.
spot zoning type of scenario.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll save other stuff for discussion between us.
Was this property owner aware of tonight's discussion agenda items?
I don't know if they were specifically aware of that it was on this agenda, but this strategy has been vetted with them, and this direction came to us from administration after meeting with the property owner.
Oh, that's good to know.
So they are aware of and have endorsed our approach.
But it doesn't really relate to them because with the state law, they can do,
Correct.
they don't have to rely on this.
They wouldn't have
Correct.
to worry about the city.
Yeah. So it's just the other property owners in light industrial manufacturing.
In this chunk of light industrial manufacturing, correct?
Yes, that the overlay applies to. Could apply to, yes. But we have set precedent with the denial of the western section to Western Paving based on the Dry Creek plan.
I don't know if precedent is the right word, but we have previously recommended denial of applications to apply the materials processing and storage overlay to additional properties.
How will this affect the future of our general plan? Because I think we had a piece running through this property, right? For housing, was it?
You mean the transportation, or
Oh, maybe it was the transportation.
there is a diagrammatic future road line running through here, and if at some point we decide to build that road, we'll work with the property owner to do that. But they weren't under the obligation to do that as they got their site plan approved right now. And that's also just a very diagrammatic map. It's not engineered at all. It's basically saying we want to get a road from here to there.
Understood.
All right,
You want to take over?
Any
You want
other-
me to-
any other questions for staff?
No more questions for me.
All right, we will open a public hearing, and when you come up, please make sure to state your name clearly for the record.
My name's Tim Parker, 2310 South State, Springville. I am the residence closest to Western Paving. We objected before this overlay happened, and I had like, I don't know, 60, 70 people that signed I forget what they call it, but a petition not to allow it, and of course it got allowed. I understand when the mayor says do something that things get done. I do not want any more concrete crushing in the area. Right now, just coming here today, big plumes of dust. It's always that way. I can go out in the middle of the morning, before sunrise, I should say, and you can see a plume of light backlit by their lights. Enforcement is non-existent. Excuse me. It doesn't happen. And it probably won't happen if we get other companies that do it. I'm a little bit, and I don't know if you can answer it or not. I heard the word indefinitely termed as far as they can continue operations. In a non-conforming, I don't understand this, but in a non-conforming area, like my house is non-conforming residence. Okay, I leave it for a year, I don't get it again. It's what I understand. And I don't know if it changes ownership, if assumptions sell to somebody else, if they're gonna have the right to do the concrete crushing. I'd like to know that.
This isn't a question answer kind of
I
thing
know.
between us, so,
I
but that
understand.
would be a great question for staff.
Okay, all right, I understand that. And as far as the way the code's already written, it's already being decimated. It says in code 1,000 foot from a residence, which I assume is done for the safety of the residents, the people in the residence there, whatever, safety and everything else that goes on. Well, legal department has says, oh no, we're gonna go to 600, we're gonna license it for 600 feet away from a residence. And it's not gonna be, as I understand it, and the Supreme Court understands it, it's not based on my property line, it's based on the side of my house. So meaning my backyard is within their 600 feet. And I can hear it, I can see it. Within the last 2 weeks, we've seen some water mitigation, and I can understand why now that I hear that this has come up. Before that, there was no water mitigation going on. Anyway, that's basically it. I understand things change and plans change, and I'm all for the Dry Creek, the new Dry Creek plan. It's the best use of the properties behind us, and that's about all I have to say. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Phil Hansen, and I have a business and some property at 2325 South State. I'm on the east side of the road, just south of WPI. And I apologize, this is new to me tonight. I'm not totally prepared with what I would like to offer to you, but I'm in hopes this isn't a cut and dried, got to make a yes or no decision tonight, because I feel there's a lot of things that you need to be brought up to speed on. Were any of you, gentlemen or ma'am, were any of you sitting on when all this took place? Were you? Okay, well, there were several who opposed this, and it was beyond just the zoning issues. It was health issues and the contaminants. And I made one plea and address, and I was not only not challenged, but nothing was ever done. I wanted to see if anybody did any research on silicon concrete does, what this cloud that was just discussed does to everybody. I know what it does to anything it lands on and sits on, and from the lime. But my concern at that time was if this business would downzone my property and reduce my value. I did make a presentation with a film presentation from another concrete plant. It was done by a mainstream news media back east, and it addressed and showed a lot of the concerns and a lot of what had happened out of that. Now, I apologize if I'm not informed. I will try to be informed. Mr. Yost, I agree with many of the things both these gentlemen are saying, but I challenge a couple of the things that have been said. And there may be a history beyond tonight that I haven't come up to speed on and do not know. But it was said over and over again that the city had all power over this temporary zoning. They had all power and control. And that could probably be researched and validated by the minutes. But as I understand, I just heard briefly, did Mr. Yost say that under the new state rule, they would be allowed to expand onto this. So that's outside the city's jurisdiction then. That is a total contradiction to what it was sold as, what it was promoted as. Now, I'd like to have time to respectfully ask you folks to look into this state new ordinance and rule, what's going on here. Because I know for a fact, and several others do, that they did try to move out onto that acquired property, and they were stockpiling and moved their crusher out onto that property. They were called back into compliance, and I believe probably Mr. Yost had some part of doing that, but the mayor did. And anyway, they were pulled back into on their property where they were allowed to operate. But it wasn't, a year later, they moved right out onto this. I did not know they owned that adjacent property, and I don't know at what time they acquired that property. So I know that also others immediately applied. I voiced my concern that that might happen. Other crusher concrete companies or other companies with businesses that wouldn't promote an attractive entrance to our city, let alone jeopardize our health from contaminants. So what I'm just saying, I won't drag on. I would just like to ask you folks, if you would please, to research this more than a casual conversation of one night, because I don't understand if the city had control over this zoning, and they've already violated it once, and the city brought them back in, and I don't claim to have any legal knowledge, but now the state says they can move out there. Well, that's kind of, and then allowing them and disallowing the other, is that a little bit of bias? And is that legal? Does that leave the city open to any litigation? And I brought this up in the past, but it was sloughed off. How can you say yes to one and no to the other? So all I'm asking for is you to look into all the facts. I think you need to know all the history, even if you, ma'am, were on the zoning board and panel. My memory serves me that you don't have all the knowledge yet that you need to make an educated decision. Is that respectfully said? Okay, so I'd like to encourage you to do that. And I'd appreciate Mr. Yost. I respect this man and the job he does thoroughly. But I don't understand if they expand that and the amount of contaminant and dust, not only to people's health, but, and they were already asked to drop when they expanded out onto that property without permission, they were above height and they were asked to reduce all that. So I would just ask that I would like to have time to look into a little bit more details on this so I'm more knowledgeable. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all you do, Mr. Yost.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Phil.
Seeing as there seems to be no one else to come forward, I move we close the hearing, public hearing.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alrighty. Discussion?
After I said I didn't have any more questions, I actually wrote a question down, and then this gentleman brought it up as well. But upon transfer of this property, will they continue to be able to do the same thing? And if they can, is there a way we can, make it so they can't?
No. Well, I'll start at the beginning. Non-conforming uses run with the land, not with the property owner.
Okay.
So the only way that this use is terminated, would be if the use was abandoned, and typically that's defined as discontinued for a period of over 1 year. I've received differing interpretations of that from different land use attorneys I've worked with regarding the intentionality and proactiveness of that abandonment. Like if somebody forgets to bring their horse back on day 366, do they lose their animal rights? As opposed to if, let's say, this operation closed and moved somewhere else, then in a year, then that right would go away because it's clearly been abandoned. We do not have the ability to terminate that use except through a process called amortization, which is very particular and very rarely employed, where there's essentially a weighing balancing test applied to determine how long the property owner needs to have the use in order to have their proper economic return. And so we're essentially saying it can continue for a certain period of time until it can't continue anymore based on some careful analysis. I've only known of one use of that in my career, and it was long before I was around. But yes, that's how non-conforming uses work. They run with the land.
Okay. Unless it's abandoned.
Unless it's abandoned, yes. Yes, Carla? Well, or if the state preempts us.
Yeah, so the state law, is that from this session or last,
It was passed in 2025.
Okay.
And it applied to any place that the company has control over as of May 1st, May 7th, 2025.
I see.
Has testing been done on this operation for contamination, air surface testing, to see the level of contamination we're talking about?
I'm not aware
biggest concern.
if there has been off-site air quality monitoring conducted here. I know that's not something that the city typically does, but I'm not aware if that's something that the State Department of Environmental Quality ever does in these type of facilities. But I'm not aware of any off-site air quality monitoring that's been conducted.
I don't remember for sure, but it seems like after the presentation that was made, someone or some group came back and said, no, this is not as dangerous to a person's health. But I
From what
might be
remember,
wrong.
it was the oldest Sumption, or the father of the family, had come back and he gave some presentation with data.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
That he had worked with the U.S. Geological Survey and things like that.
That's what I remember then.
Yeah.
I knew there was something,
But that it was
Anything-
independent. He was basically showing independent
Yeah.
studies rather
Yeah.
than specific to the site.
which is good. Independent studies are the best, yeah.
Well, they weren't
Well, they
of
weren't,
that
they weren't
site.
specific to him.
They were just in general.
But specific to the same material, though.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying,
That
which is a good thing.
And that's from what I remember attending the meeting. But as for if that was addressed post-meeting or anything past that, like Josh said, I don't think the city has done anything to follow up on
Oh, that's usually the state. If they do petition, this isn't really related to the overlay, but if they do petition or apply to expand, does the state do any of that kind of a testing or something beforehand? No? If the city wanted to, I don't know, oppose it, then would the city do that in order,
We
or
would
we don't know?
we would follow the advice of admin and our legal counsel and going through that process. Neither Carla or I really have fully analyzed.
The only way that we could keep it from expanding is if we can show that
It's a health issue.
danger to health.
Yeah.
Well, and so one of the questions that I had, and this is more for Mr. Hanson to clarify intent of what we're going over tonight. It's really to, from what I understand, protect the city's interest in, as it grows, that this is mitigated and stays in the only available parcel it is at and currently operating at.
Yeah, so we don't.
So it would not be allowed to expand even with the new state law. Is that the right?
Wait, not
Well, they
expand.
expand on their property,
Well, they can expand on their property,
right?
but
They-
Property nearby.
even
What-
even if
What do you mean,
we-
if they buy property that's nearby, they can expand to that?
Nearby property that's
Yeah,
controlled as of
even if we remove this
As of May 7th?
May 7th, 2025.
But
what we're doing, oh, sorry, Carla.
Yeah, so for example, if they own this property, they own this property. If they were to say purchase this property, they would be able to, because they own all of this as of May 7th, 2025, they can expand it to this property. They can buy this property and expand it onto that property. The state,
why can they do that if they didn't own it in May of 25?
because the law says nearby.
What does nearby mean? I mean, does that mean they can expand, they can buy 10 different
Basically
parcels along
adjacent to,
there?
but basically, the land use attorneys that I've spoken to said that it had to be adjacent to the property. Yeah,
So it's adjacent to, it's not nearby.
well, the law says, yeah, the law isn't very
That's
clear.
Clear as mud.
The law is not very clear, and this was pushed by gravel pit and mining operations. They have a very strong lobby at the state, and they are the ones who push for this. And it allows them to expand on property nearby, regardless.
So what's the main purpose of removing the overlay? Is it just to throw people off of the scent that they may be able to?
No, it's just the only real control that the city has on not letting this expand anywhere else.
Or letting others get
Correct.
into the business of it.
We don't want to apply this overlay to any other properties.
So
Or
we
be,
can't-
be in a
Would
situation.
remove
where
the
someone
idea
applied.
and them being able to say, well, you did it for WPI.
Yeah, well, sort of, but it's WPI's, we can't do anything about their nearby properties if they buy them.
Yeah.
But if they don't buy them, then those nearby properties, if we repeal the overlay, they won't be able to start a concrete processing place.
They can't apply to they can't make application to apply the overlay to their property because
Yes,
the overlay
yeah.
will no longer exist.
This might seem like a silly question, but where are the closest residents to this property? They're right directly across the street there?
Just south of that gray building on the bottom.
And across
Yeah.
the street.
And across the street.
I was going to say across
You
the
want me
street.
to pull up the map?
And as a reference, so, and I looked this up too, that within a half a mile is 1600 South. Like you can touch 1600 South with a half-mile radius from this property. So if we're talking about the Dry Creek corridor plan with all the
Yeah.
housing and all the commercial, all of that, it's within a half mile of this property.
I feel like this is kind of like the impetus was the state law, but really, with the adoption of the Dry Creek corridor, this really should have happened anyway.
Yeah.
Because the Dry Creek corridor, we don't want this use
In the Dry Creek corridor.
because
plan.
they're not conducive to each
I
other.
agree, it shouldn't have happened.
Well, no, I'm not
We-
talking about
I wa-
shouldn't
no,
have
I- no,
happened.
No, yeah, but you did say that.
No, it should have been repealed before.
Sure, no question. No question about that. But, so I just want to go back. So how confident are we that nearby means
I can read it to you right now. It is on contiguous land, which means
Oh, contiguous, okay.
surface or subsurface land that shares a common boundary and is not separated by a highway. So it can't jump across the highway.
And they can't, if they buy that piece that you pointed at, that kind of long, thin strip right there, if they were to buy that and then want to buy the one to the north of that, they couldn't expand to the one to the north.
Well,
They
they
could.
touch on the corner,
they can keep
so
on
They
expanding.
can
They
keep
could.
on buying
Yeah.
property and expand.
Is that
No,
correct?
no.
It has to have
That
been
doesn't make any
controlled.
sense.
Yeah,
So
but-
this is,
I think
That
Carla
makes
can
zero
speak to
sense.
but
to
there's
say that.
there that property that's above the
That's fine.
skinny one
That's fine,
is
that one.
touching it.
it
Anything
allows
that
them,
touches,
it allows
but
them
they
to
can't,
expand to new land that is contiguous with property that they controlled as of May 7th,
that's the
2025.
question. Great, thanks.
Yeah.
It's a lot of property.
What that would do is the T&K property
Yep.
potentially could be part of their expansion.
Yes.
And that's,
If they own this property
It's not small.
But
and
they-
they want to purchase this
but
and
Yeah.
continue it, they are
That
allowed.
wasn't the use on that property.
Doesn't
though.
matter.
Oh, that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter
contiguous.
because
No, no,
it's
no,
on,
no.
no, it is on
It's
property
from
that
the-
they controlled.
So even though they couldn't do the processing on the western property, it's actually everything touching the western property could become
Right.
that if they bought it.
And in short, nothing we're doing tonight
It doesn't have
has anything to do with that.
Yeah.
So when that comes to you, we will make sure that
Yeah.
John Penrod is here and that we can clearly explain all the provisions of the ordinance and answer any of those, or the state law and answer any of those questions.
Let's not wrap around the
Yeah.
propeller anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It doesn't relate to that.
Yeah,
What,
we're-
what we're talking about today is
Repealing
is
it.
not anything that Western paving can do. That's not related. We're talking about what any of
overlay.
these properties that are west of state and south of 1600 for whatever section in light industrial manufacturing, do we want to allow it to continue to have an overlay that would allow people to apply and and possibly start concrete processing? Or do we want to repeal it so that that is no longer an application that people can go for?
So it seems to me that the outstanding question is that we don't have a clear answer on is this health issue. I don't know, it seems to me.
So you're saying you want to know the merits of
But
concrete
I guess that would
processing
that
or
would
not?
come later.
But
But that's the only thing that would,
right now, it'd come down to a homeowner just making those claims that it's unhealthy and them doing the testing
That's right.
to prove that it's unhealthy.
But
Because right now, it's in operation. It is
yeah.
yeah, again,
status quo
So,
right now.
Western
so
paving,
our,
not
so our
related.
piece is whether or not we want to make a,
Yeah, it's
Recommendation day.
essentially if we want it to happen south of 1600 and west
correct.
yeah.
Yeah, would you ever recommend approval of another application? If not, we should probably just take it off the books.
And
Yeah.
this is more just as a reminder, like as planning commission, from what I understand, we are, as a legislative body, looking at if things are in alignment with the general plan
Yes.
Correct.
of Springville City.
Yes.
And so, from what I understand, I don't know that concrete crushing is in that general plan, at least from what I've, in this particular area and use, and,
Yeah.
and the forecasted growth of the city there.
Exactly. And that, so the Dry Creek corridor plan does not plan for concrete processing. It's more residential,
Mixed
neighborhood
use.
commercial, mixed use kinds of things.
What-
So does the overlay, work with that general plan?
And this is more for the record, but do you know what year the Dry Creek corridor plan was approved?
2024, December of 2024. And let me just clarify something. I did misspeak, and I would like to clarify that for the record. They have to have gotten new land by January 1st, 2026. So if they don't own any of this property as of January 1st, 2026, it cannot be expanded onto that. The new land had a limitation. I apologize.
Conversation is over.
I apologize for that.
Thanks.
So they had to have purchased it
They would have to have,
between
yes, the new
May
land would have to,
25
yes,
and January 1st.
yes.
And according to the county parcel map, it's not owned by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at that as well.
This is probably a terrible question, Josh, but I mean, in the plan, is there a place designated for this type of heavier industrial or manufacturing?
Anywhere that's zoned high heavy industrial manufacturing (HIM) this zone would be permitted in. So that's surrounding.
And there's adequate space for that?
Yeah, there's actually quite a bit of land in HIM around the sewer plant. Carla can turn the zoning on, and then
Trying to do, hold on one second.
west, about 10th west or 16th west and 10th north, where the Maca foundry is. That's another chunk of HIM. So it's really in the northwest part of the city.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the HIM is a
Dark
darker
purple.
purple.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And the city controls all the HIM to the south of the power plant.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Anyone feel like making a motion?
I'll make a motion. Move to recommend the repeal of Title 11, Chapter 5, Article 7, Materials Processing and Storage Overlay Regulations.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do
Roll call.
roll call? Do we feel like roll call? If you will start?
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Affirmative.
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. So then that passes that we're going to recommend to repeal. That then goes on to the city council, who will look at that, and they have the final say on yes or no. But all right. we going to
Item number 2.
have, is someone presenting number 2? Oh, okay. No, I just didn't know, because Carla walked away, so then I was like, did I miss something when I,
When
in
Carla
the,
leaves,
in the minute and a half that I was like,
Carla leaves, Genevieve freezes up.
okay.
She goes to the back of the room, Genevieve freezes
Well,
up.
you got up and you left, and so, anyway, or you walked to the back, and then I was like, not sure if we were going on with 2. Ah, I see, so Director Yost will be presenting, okay. All right, so moving on, we have another legislative item that is Springville Community Development requests an amendment to Springville Code Title 11 to adjust commercial site development and landscaping standards, and that will be presented by Director Yost.
Thank you, Chair, Commission members. The item that I have for you tonight is very simple. It is simply an amendment to the the setbacks in the highway commercial zone, which would permit a reduction of the front setback and the street side setback to 5 feet from 25 and 20 feet if the building meets the Main Street South Gateway ground floor treatment requirements, which generally are concerned with windows and ground floor design. If the primary public entrance faces the street, that doesn't mean it has to be directly adjacent to the street, but it has to face the street. And 50% of the facade of the building is within the reduced setback area. That last one can be a little confusing, so this is what that means. If this is the front property line, say your road's out here, this is the current minimum setback. This is the proposed allowance to go to 5 feet. If that is employed, you can't simply just bring 10 feet of width of the building up to that lower setback and have the rest of the building sitting back behind the 25-foot setback. At least 50% of the width of the building along or parallel with the front property line needs to be within this 5-foot to 25-foot realm. So if you're going to decrease the setbacks, we want at least half of the building to come closer and address the street. The results of this are simply that it encourages street engagement in these corridors where, as noted in your staff report, the current standards really force buildings back and result in parking and vehicular circulation being between the buildings and the street, even if somebody didn't want to, which makes it hard for these corridors to respond to market pressure to develop in a more urban character. It reduces regulatory barriers because we're allowing additional allowances for reduced setbacks. It supports improved conditions of the streetscape if we can bring buildings closer. And it keeps the same flexibility we have today. It doesn't impose any additional restrictions on the status quo. It just opens up an option with certain conditions. And that is my presentation.
Why the decision on 5 feet and not like 8 feet? Is there like a standard, or is there any kind of walkability or, you know, distance that is, if you need to, or if you want to have like a, I don't know, an outdoor seating area that's recommended?
Those are contextual questions for sure. Our current streetscape or right-of-way standards requires at a minimum an 8-foot park strip and a 5-foot sidewalk. So the property line never starts closer than 13 feet to the back of curb.
I see.
So this would be 5 feet behind the property line. So this would be
Ah.
no less than 18 feet from the top back of
So
curb.
this is not including the
This is not
park
including the
strip
sidewalk
or
and the
the
park strip,
sidewalk.
no.
So what is
yeah.
Main Street right now,
That's
like
a
in front of
lot.
the,
It's 25.
like Maggleby's, for example?
Zero.
Zero.
That's a
All
big reduction.
traditional commercial Main Street buildings are built to the
Walgreens?
property line.
Walgreens is an example.
Yeah, like if you think
That,
about it.
I am a visual guy, so that
maybe
helps
not-
me a lot.
Maybe not exactly 25 feet, but that's what we're encouraging with our
Okay.
current code, is having
Yeah.
in that
That
area
helps.
We're-
Right.
Walgreens where they
We're-
have parking in front and building behind.
We're
So
limiting
now we're
it
changing
to that right now.
Art
We're
City.
permitting,
Allowing.
in the highway commercial zone. In the Main Street South Gateway zone, we already require buildings to come to the street because that zone is for our traditional downtown
So
Main
another
Street.
another example in the highway commercial zone would be like standard plumbing. Other side of the highway is currently highway commercial. We would allow them to push up to 5 feet within the property line.
So the 5 feet essentially gets you an additional sidewalk width on the property, on the private property, which gives you just a little bit more cushion on larger streets.
So does that allow for larger buildings then?
It doesn't change any other requirements or regulations in the zone. Doesn't change your minimum or maximum building size, heights, any of those parameters. It just allows a smaller setback if the building meets these criteria.
Hey, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
So just again, because I'm a real visual guy, there's a coffee shop on Center Street right next to a place called Kay's Kitchen. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, on Center Street in Provo.
Provo, sorry. Yes.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I was the reviewer on that project.
Oh, were you?
The
Okay.
building, yeah.
So in a situation like that, how does that? Because I love that little wooden.
Your
Structure
economic
they
development
built.
department comes to you and says, we want to build a plaza there and put a gazebo there and let the adjoining tenant use it. And you say, okay. That's how that happens.
But I mean, in terms of space, would that be similar to what we're talking about here?
Ooh, you mean is the width of that bulb out? The width of that bulb out is more than 5 feet. Because the bulb out is almost the width of the parking aisles. Just for context, I can
Because
show
I love that so much that it gets it. You mentioned walkability a minute ago, and I know that's probably overused a lot of times, but it works for me.
Yeah.
And I love the idea. No, I've had people tell me I use it too much.
I can give you a new term to
Yeah, great.
figmataxis.
Okay, walkability. So, because I love that so much, and you know, all along there, I mean, Gurus, all those.
Yes.
There's places for people to sit
Yes.
down and
So
enjoy a
that's very
meal,
wide.
whatever.
It's the width of the angled parking bay.
Okay.
So I'll just measure. I mean,
If
it's
you haven't been to
smaller
Kay's
than-
Kitchen, I highly
It's
recommend
very
it.
good. It is very good. That's probably about 9 to 10 feet inside, or the width of the pergola there. The whole width of the bulb out is somewhat,
I guess going back to walkability, fixability, whatever you called it.
yeah.
Figmataxis.
I'll go in. I
Figmentation. If we look at that, is there still opportunity to do this? Like I said, if we go down to Gurus,
Yes. And that happens because of the bulb outs at the mid-block
so
crossings at
that's
the corners.
where they're happening.
So this is,
So Gurus is a bulb out as well.
Grooves is also a bulb out. And so this, oh no, I gotta go 2 more blocks, sorry. So this street actually was designed as part of the Center Street project was a bicentennial project. I thought it's kind of interesting that it's been 50 years since Provo did Center Street. But in the past 15 years, there's been a desire to reclaim some additional space from landscaping or parking there, and so they took out the landscaping in here
I remember that. I'm old.
at Guru's and Kitty Corner. This was actually the first one that we did in front of the old Dixon Taylor Russell building when there was a restaurant in here, when it was converted, when Atchafalaya moved over and turned it into the bar.
So I guess my real question is this going to give, if there are little diners, restaurants, whatever, will they have room and we're a cold weather
They
place?
can always set back. 5 feet's not quite. You can do a single row of cafe tables in 5 feet.
And that's why
very
I'm wondering
easily.
about the I have the same question about the 5 foot.
But I don't want
But
to
they're-
push buildings back, but I don't want to require them to be set back. If they want to set back and have a courtyard or have a little more of a setback for a
They can do
street,
that.
they can do that.
They can do that.
This doesn't require them to be at 5. It allows them to be in between 25
So
and
yeah,
5.
with future building, they can just make a decision.
But
Correct.
right now, we're requiring them to be
Yeah, gotcha.
25 feet
Yep,
back
yep,
from
yep.
the property line and
Yep.
then 18 feet
Yeah.
or so from the street.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of places where we have the HC zone have irregular park strips and sidewalks,
Wait,
but
wait.
yeah, that was a good similar comparison there.
Thanks.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, as a legislative item, we will open a public hearing. When you come up to the front, make sure to state your name clearly and try to keep your comments to 3 to 5 minutes.
Seeing that nobody's approaching for the public hearing, I have a motion that we close the public hearing.
If I had a Groucho Marx kind of thing,
I'll second it.
Don't bring that up.
Don't. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Close the public hearing. Discussion amongst ourselves.
Like,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, especially because it leaves flexibility. They can
Yeah.
still put the building wherever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, not wherever
Yeah.
they want.
Definitely want to encourage more foot friendliness.
Yep. Foot friendliness, I like it.
Yeah.
Foot friendliness.
Foot
Come on.
friendliness.
Better than figmentation. I like it.
Pedestrian.
Figmataxis is what happens when a worm tunnels down in the ground. It hugs the corners of the,
Yeah,
of the
right.
sides
Take
of the
a
hole.
note of that, will you?
Humans behave in the same way. They hug the sides of buildings when they walk through spaces. So if you have a really big open plaza, most of the time people hug the sides.
Stigmatizes, of course.
So if the building's pushed closer to the street side, you're gonna make people more comfortable to walk on that street.
Yeah.
It would be less strollable.
This should be this,
Strollable. There you
this
go.
should be a test question on driver's license.
Pedestrian focused.
Yes.
we'll count that 5 minutes against your yearly training requirement.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Well, I don't know. Does anyone else have anything else they want to? Okay, I'll make a motion. I move that the planning commission forward the recommendation of approval to the city council for the proposed text amendment to the highway commercial zone.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion passes on to the city council. All right. Anything else?
You kind of went off the
add?
Groucho mark. Oh, you're still there. You're still Grouchoing
We're
it
not.
a little. Okay.
We're not talking about.
We're talking like that, just not about it. Oh,
Yeah.
that you're
You
talking.
can, you
got her
are,
into
you're
that?
a
Okay.
resident of Springville. You don't have to disguise yourself to make comments
Ladies and gentlemen.
because we welcome all comments from the citizens of Springville.
We
love them.
Are you open to a motion?
I'm open to a motion, yeah.
All right, I move we close this meeting.
I'll
We have a
second.
motion to adjourn, seconded, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You need signatures, Heather?
Yes.